Hello, future teacher. Welcome to teacherpreps.com. We're dedicated to helping you ace your teacher certification exams.
But hey, you're getting ready for the NES Elementary Education Subtest 1. That's exam number 102, right? Well, you're in luck because our very own instructor is on hand to proctor the NES Elementary Education Subtest 1 free practice test. This practice test consists of 16 multiple-choice questions, and you will have exactly 19 minutes and 20 seconds to complete it. Now, before we dive in, please make sure you grab a copy of the corresponding answer sheet linked to in the description below. This is specifically designed for this NES Elementary Education Subtest 1 practice test. Are you ready to challenge yourself and gauge your preparation?
I think I'm ready for this.
Great. Let's hand it over to our instructor to begin the proctoring. Good luck. Question 1. A kindergarten teacher observes that a student whose primary home language is Spanish often omits articles, e.g., the when speaking English, saying things like, I want apple instead of I want an apple. This common pattern in the student's English language acquisition most likely illustrates a notable delay in grasping symbolic thought, b. influence from her primary language's grammatical structures, c. a strong preference for very brief speech patterns, d. ongoing difficulty with singular versus plural nouns. Question 2. During a class discussion about a shared read-aloud story, a second-grade teacher wants to ensure students are developing effective listening skills for comprehension and critical thinking. Which of the following teacher prompts would best support this goal?
A. Could someone briefly recap the initial events that occurred at the story's start?
B. What specific part of the story did you enjoy most, and what made it enjoyable? C. Based on the character's choice, what do you predict will occur next in the story? D. Did you all comprehend Maya's point regarding how the main character might be feeling? Question 3. A first-grade teacher is planning activities to reinforce the connection between graphemes and phonemes for students who are beginning to decode CVC consonant-vowel-consonant words. Which of the following instructional strategies would be most effective in directly promoting students' phonics skills for accurate word recognition? A. Guiding students to segment CVC words into phonemes with sound boxes, then blend these sounds. B. Having students sort picture cards by initial phonemes and then match these to letter cards. C. Encouraging the memorization of a specific list containing 50 common high-frequency sight words. D. Asking students to identify the rhyming word pairs found within a well-known nursery rhyme. Question 4. Mr. Harrison, a third-grade teacher, notices that one of his students consistently struggles to decode multisyllabic words containing common prefixes and suffixes, e.g., unhappiness, rereading. When the student encounters such words, they often guess based on the first few letters or skip the word entirely. Which of the following strategies would be most beneficial for Mr. Harrison to implement first to help this student improve their word analysis skills? A. Providing a high-interest chapter book just above their reading level to specifically motivate reading engagement. B. Administering a formal timed fluency assessment to accurately pinpoint the student's precise reading rate. C. Encouraging more frequent use of surrounding context clues to infer meanings of challenging, unfamiliar words. D. Explicitly teaching common prefixes and suffixes, then guiding the student to break words into meaningful parts. Question 5. A fourth-grade English language learner, ELL, demonstrates strong literal comprehension of narrative texts, but struggles when asked questions that require her to infer character motivations or predict outcomes. Her teacher wants to develop an instructional plan to specifically address her inferential comprehension skills. Which of the following initial instructional approaches would be most appropriate? A. Assigning shorter and simpler narrative texts that contain explicit statements of character feelings. B. Pairing her with a proficient English-speaking classmate to discuss responses to inferential questions post-reading. C. Giving her graphic organizers that help find text evidence for character thoughts or likely future events. D. encouraging her to primarily focus on overall vocabulary development to better grasp subtle text nuances. Question 6. Maya, a fifth-grade student, consistently scores above grade level in reading comprehension and possesses an extensive vocabulary. However, during independent reading or vocabulary extension activities, she often finishes quickly and then distracts her peers. Her teacher wants to challenge Maya appropriately while managing classroom behavior. Which strategy would best address Maya's advanced vocabulary needs and encourage productive engagement? A. Offering Maya a curated list of complex words linked to content topics for independent research and a short presentation. B. Assigning Maya the important role of peer tutor for any classmates struggling with the current unit's vocabulary list. C. Letting Maya choose a preferred book from the library to read silently after she finishes her assigned classwork. D. Giving Maya extra worksheets featuring more complex sentence tasks, utilizing the same grade-level vocabulary words. Question 7. During a unit on poetry, a sixth-grade teacher wants students to analyze how poets use literary devices to convey meaning and evoke emotion. The teacher reads aloud a poem rich with imagery and then asks, consider the lines. The old house stood on a lonely hill, its windows like vacant eyes staring into the swirling mist. Which literary device is most evident here, and what feeling does it primarily create for the reader? This question primarily prompts students to identify and analyze A. Alliteration and its particular effect on overall rhythm. B. Metaphor and its direct creation of a rather somber mood. C. Hyperbole and its clear emphasis on the old house's considerable size. D. Personification and its main contribution to an eerie atmosphere. Question 8. An fourth-grade elementary school social studies teacher is guiding students to understand how authors construct arguments in persuasive texts, such as editorials about community issues. To best promote students' comprehension and critical analysis of these texts, the teacher should initially encourage students to A. Identify primary emotional appeals used and then discuss their subsequent personal reactions to them. B. Summarize the text's main topic and also create a list of any unfamiliar vocabulary encountered. C. Determine the author's main claim and locate the supporting evidence or reasons provided for it. D. Compare the introduction's length to the conclusion's length and note any structural differences observed. Question 9. A team of fifth-grade students is preparing an oral presentation on the impact of plastic pollution in oceans. Their teacher has guided them through several steps in the process. Which of the following activities would generally not be considered a core component of effectively planning and delivering this type of oral presentation? A. Assigning research sections and specific speaking parts carefully to each group member. B. Writing out sentences on note cards for the presentation content. C. Designing visual aids with key images and data to strongly support their main points. D. Rehearsing the presentation to improve flow, manage time, and enhance overall delivery. Question 10. Identify the word in the following sentence that represents an error in grammar. The dedicated team of researchers, despite A. Facing numerous setbacks, B. Remains optimistic about C. Their chances of D. Achieve a breakthrough in the coming year. A. Facing. B. Remains. C. Their. D. Achieve. Question 11. A group of elected officials in a state government is primarily responsible for debating, drafting, and voting on new laws, such as those concerning public education funding or environmental protection. This body's actions directly represent the core responsibilities of which component of the state government? A. Legislative. B. Judicial. Chief Executive. D. Parliament. Question 12. Two new coffee shops open on the same street in a small town that previously had only one. To attract customers, both new shops begin offering loyalty programs, daily specials, and slightly lower prices on popular drinks. This scenario primarily illustrates how increased competition can influence small local businesses to A. Merge their operations to reduce overall operating costs significantly. B. Diversify into completely unrelated product or service markets quickly. C. Adopt more customer-focused strategies and adjust pricing structures. D. Agree to fix prices collaboratively to ensure stable profit margins. Question 13. The ancient Mayan civilization, flourishing in Mesoamerica, was known for many remarkable achievements. Which of the following statements is not an accurate description of a characteristic or technological development of Mayan culture? A. They developed a complex hieroglyphic writing system to record history and rituals. B. They engineered extensive road networks using wheeled vehicles for transport. C. They created a sophisticated calendar system based on astronomical observations. D. They constructed monumental architecture, including pyramids and palaces. Question 14. A significant factor that contributed to the normalization of relations between the United States and the People's Republic of China during the 1970s was A. A shared economic interest in rapidly expanding global free trade agreements. B. The resolution of territorial disputes between the two nations through direct treaty. China's decision to adopt a democratic system of internal governance. D. Mutual concerns regarding the geopolitical influence of the Soviet Union. Question 15. The historical development of early agricultural societies in river valleys, such as Mesopotamia, along the Tigris and Euphrates rivers, most clearly demonstrates A. The independence of human societies from their surrounding natural environments. B. Human societies adapting to their environments to meet their basic needs. C. A primary societal focus on nomadic lifestyles rather than settlement patterns. D. The widespread rejection of technological innovations in favor of traditional practices. Question 16. A social scientist is conducting a study to understand the effects of a new community policing program on residents' perceptions of safety. The researcher collects survey data from residents in a neighborhood where the program is implemented and from a similar neighborhood without the program, both before and after the program's start. This research design primarily exemplifies the basic principle of A. Using a control group to help isolate the impact of an intervention. B. Relying on anecdotal evidence to draw broad conclusions. C. Focusing on qualitative data without any quantitative measures. D. Ensuring that research findings perfectly mirror public opinion trends. Okay, future teacher, nice work with the practice test. Now, let's walk through the answers together. Grab your highlighters. Let's dive in. All right, moving on to number 1. The answer here was B. This is because the omission of articles, words like a, an, and the, is a pretty common feature you'll see when a student's primary language. Now for number 2. The correct response was C. When you ask students to predict what might happen next based on clues in the text, you're really encouraging them to listen actively, pull together different pieces of information, and use those higher-order thinking skills. Let's look at number 3. The answer is A. Activities like segmenting, breaking words apart into sounds, and blending, putting sounds together to make words, especially when using tools like sound boxes, directly build up that crucial phonemic awareness and the phonics skills that students need to decode CVC words, those consonant-vowel-consonant words. For number 4, the best choice was D. When you explicitly teach structural analysis, that means looking at prefixes, suffixes, and root words. You're giving the student a systematic way to approach and decode those longer, multisyllabic words. Moving on to number 5. Here, the answer was C. Using graphic organizers that specifically guide a student to find evidence in the text to support their inferences provides a really structured kind of support. This is key for helping them develop that specific comprehension skill of reading between the lines, but with evidence. For number 6, the correct answer is A. If you have a high-achieving student, tasking them with researching etymologically complex words related to your content areas really challenges their vocabulary in a meaningful and engaging way. This is a productive way to channel their abilities and deepen their understanding. Let's consider number 7. The answer here is D. When a passage describes windows as vacant eyes staring, this is a great example of personification, giving human qualities to something that isn't human. All right, number 8. The correct choice was C. When tackling a persuasive text, Identifying the author's main claim and the evidence they use to support it is a fundamental first step. This helps students understand and analyze the structure of the argument and how effective it might be. For number 9, the answer is B. While having some notes is certainly helpful for a presentation, writing out complete sentences for the entire thing can often lead to a rather stilted or unnatural delivery. It's generally less effective than other preparatory strategies, like outlining key points or practicing with cue cards. Let's look at number 10. The correct answer was D. In this sentence, the verb achieve needs to be in its gerund form, which is achieving. This is because it's functioning as the object of the preposition of, as in chances of achieving. Moving into the social studies content now with number 11. The answer here is A. The activities described, debating potential laws, drafting legislation, and then voting on those new laws. These are the primary functions of the legislative branch of government. For number 12, the correct response was C. Think about what happens when businesses face more competition. They often need to step up their game, perhaps by enhancing customer service, offering incentives like sales or loyalty programs, and adjusting their prices to attract and keep customers. Let's examine number 13. The answer is B. It's true that the Mayans were sophisticated road builders. However, a key historical detail is that they did not use wheeled vehicles for transporting goods on these roads. Instead, goods were typically carried by human porters or transported via waterways. On to number 14. The best choice here was D. During the Cold War period, a complex but important dynamic was that both the United States and China came to view the Soviet Union as a significant strategic rival. For number 15, the answer is B. Those early agricultural societies tended to develop in fertile river valleys. They succeeded by adapting to their environment, making use of that rich soil and available water, and also by modifying it to suit their needs, for example, through the development of irrigation systems for farming. And finally, number 16. The correct answer is A. When researchers are trying to determine if a new program is effective, using a neighborhood that doesn't have the program as a comparison group, often called a control group, is a really important methodological step. This helps the researcher assess whether any changes they observe in the program neighborhood are actually due to the program itself, or if they might have been caused by other unrelated factors. And there you have it. We've gone through all 16 questions. How'd you do? Want to supercharge your success on test day? TeacherPreps.com has 2 full-length timed practice tests just waiting for you. Get started by clicking the link in the description below.